Hello friends, welcome back to my studio. It's me, the disappearing artist. Those of you that have been subscribed for a while, you're probably like, where have you been, Loca? If you know, you know. I apologize for the disappearance. You know how it goes, life gets crazy, but I'm hoping to remedy this and be back a lot more often, especially since I just released a new coloring book and I'm looking forward to doing a flip through and some more color alongs with you guys, and I've got ideas for more books in the future that I want to create. So, you know, the inspiration is back, the desire to create is filling me up again, and there are some changes in the future that I'm looking forward to and hoping to show up here a lot more often and make a lot more art with you guys. Okay, so speaking of that new coloring book, I have it right here. You may or may not have seen it if you follow me on Instagram or if you're signed up for my Owl Post newsletter, you already know all about this book. But those of you that are just here on YouTube, I haven't gotten a chance to make a video on this book yet, so I'm excited to show you. This book is perfect for spooky season. It's Whimsical Witches, a magical witchy coloring book. Now, if you were here for my last color along last fall, where I worked in the Cozy Cottagecore book, I talked about wanting to make either a fairy related book or a garden slash vintage book. Well, that muse for those two books kind of left me for a little while. That happens if I take too long to get to an idea. It just kind of floats off to another realm for a little while. She'll be back. I'm not worried about it. Those books will get created one of these days. This book just, it hit me and it had to come out, and it was really good timing for fall slash spooky season, and it's adorable. The reception to this book has been really awesome so far. I've gotten a lot of really amazing reviews and people coloring it already and sharing their work, and so I'm so excited to share it with you guys and do a flip through first. Then I'm going to pick a page and we're going to sit down, get cozy, get a little bit magical, and color together. All right, let's jump into the flip through. If you do not want to peek inside the entire book, skip ahead about 3 or 4 minutes right now. If you do want to, then stick around. This book was so fun to illustrate. I actually tried to create little stories within this book that really no one but me and my daughter are ever going to be aware of, but it made the illustration process so much fun. So you'll see charming little witchy shops, and then they are usually going to be followed by a witch that in my mind is like the owner of that shop. And then you may see illustrations that could also be connected to that shop or the witch that runs it. I really do like to try and create little stories and connections throughout all of my coloring books. I want there to be a cohesiveness and a clear intention, you know, for things to really make sense and not just be a random collection of illustrations. I really want you to feel that intention in the artwork when you get your copy of this coloring book. And if you're wondering how you can purchase this book, you have 3 main options. You can purchase a printed copy from my Etsy shop, and when you do that, I will personally ship your book from my home studio and sign your book and include some extra goodies for you, like a backing card to place between your pages and a couple of other little fun surprises. Secondly, you could purchase a digital download version of the entire book from my Etsy shop as well. So this is great for those of you that love to print your pages out on your own high quality paper, or for those of you that like to color digitally on your iPad. You'll get a PDF for printing and then PNG files for digital coloring for the entire book, so you're going to have lots of flexibility with that download. Lastly, if you want the most affordable option, especially if you are an international colorist, you may like to purchase a copy right on Amazon. These copies will not be signed, and they are going to come shipped directly from Amazon, not my home studio. So all of the links to those shopping options will be below for you. And I'm going to let you in on a little secret. If you're a new customer in my Etsy shop, I invite you to go sign up for my Owl Post Club, which is my cute little club of owlets, as I call them. And they get special deals and exclusive behind the scenes looks and announcements from me throughout the year. And when you first sign up for that, you will unlock a discount code for your first purchase in my shop, which you can absolutely use on this coloring book or any of my other coloring books or other products. So we're in the final pages of this flip through, and I wanted to point out something new I did in this book, which are these bookmarks right at the end here. They're so fun. You can color them and then cut them out and use them as a bookmark, or if you're doing the digital download, print it on some high quality cardstock and add a tassel and make some magical bookmarks. All right, now let's go color something magical. Okay, so before we jump into coloring, some of you may be curious about my supplies. And right off the bat, let me just tell you that I am not a fancy colorist. I keep it very casual and laid back here, and I just use what I have right now. So my favorite thing to use though is an electric pencil sharpener. That is one thing that's kind of a must for me. My hands cannot take manual sharpening most of the time, so I use an electric sharpener. It was very inexpensive, like less than $15. It's probably not like worth even mentioning to the brand because it, like I said, just hop on Amazon and get something that you can afford and it'll work just fine. Then for colored pencils, again, I use what I have, which is stuff that's been like given to me from family members and stuff usually. I don't think I've really purchased anything myself. So there's a mixture of some Staedtler watercolor pencils. There are some Prismacolors in here that got passed down to me. These are just some cheapies that were given to me. Well, both my daughter and I, and there was like 2 sets, so I took a set. She uses a set. I don't use those as often, but mostly I use the Staedtler watercolor and the Prismacolors and a couple of like vintage Faber-Castell pencils that are really nice. Again, they've all been given to me and I just use what I have. Nothing fancy here, no full sets of anything. I also occasionally will use erasers because you can kind of lighten and erase away little things when using colored pencil. It's not going to be perfect, but if I ever need to lighten something, it does work. Next, I put a piece of backing board behind my coloring page to prevent any kind of like indentation or transfers. If you buy any of my coloring books from me directly on Etsy in my Etsy shop or through my own website, I always send with you this backing board. So that way you can always tuck it in when you are coloring. If you don't have one of these, just use a few sheets of paper in between and it'll work just fine. Lastly, optional, but highly recommended, some kind of cozy drink. And that's about it. Oh, and I light a candle. I put a little music on or a movie or something and I color away. So let's get to it. Okay, so first let me show you my intended color palette of mostly purples and greens with some pops of pink and kind of a turquoisey teal color back there. I'm going to try to keep it fairly simple with the purples and greens though, and kind of just see how it goes. Then I like to pre-sharpen my pencils just to start off on the right foot and get everything to like a nice fine point. And then I feel like I am ready to jump in and start coloring. Okay, so you've probably already noticed that I decided to color this cute little collection of magical potions. I like this page because it allows me to finish it in just 1 or 2 sittings, and then I can get a hit of dopamine for having been creative and for finishing something. It just feels so good when you complete a coloring page, doesn't it? So these simpler pages give us a quick win and a hit of happy chemicals. By the way, throughout my voiceovers, you may hear little squeaks, and that is my bird. You might also hear some barking, which is my sweet little dog. So I apologize. Yep, the bird's name is Promi, so you can just say hi, Promi, anytime you hear those cute little squeaks. We're going to call them cute, even if they're not cute. I also wanted to mention that you are more than welcome to mute me and put on your own music or movie in the background while you color alongside me. I'm going to kind of vary between chatting with you and letting you listen to some chill music. So I'll just kind of pop in when I have things to say and you can decide if you'd like to hear me chat or if you want to mute me. I am okay with either thing that you decide. The other thing I was sort of excited about with this page was the chance to color glass. I really don't do that very often, and so I was excited for the challenge to color these glass potion bottles. I opted to start with this like really pale lavender color. I don't know exactly what the color is called. That's one unfortunate thing about the Staedtler watercolor pencils is they don't have the fun color names on them, which I always feel like I could use because I feel like I constantly mislabel the names of colors. You'd think as an artist I would be better at that, but I am not. I fail at that, especially when it comes to differentiating between like aqua, turquoise, teal. I always flub those up a little bit. So anyway, I was excited to try these glass bottles, and I started, like I said, with this pale color, and then in a little bit I'm going to add in a slightly darker purple color to the edges of it to help them look a little more round and 3D. So let me know, do you have any favorite tips or tricks about coloring glass or glass jars or bottles? I'd be really interested to know. I was also trying to make the decision of, do I put this glass color over the top of everything, since technically it should look like that color is over the top of whatever's inside the bottle or jar, but I decided not to do it over the top of like the liquid portion of the jar, but I did put the color over there where the cork part is. And I think my thought on that was just to give the illusion that that glass is on top, and also that part of the glass would probably be a little thicker than the part that's holding the potion. And yeah, so those were my reasonings. But again, I would love to hear or see your approach to coloring these jars and bottles. It's such an interesting thing to color, glass. So here is where I'm going to switch over to a more saturated purple lavender color, and this is a vintage coloring pencil here, and I want to layer in a little bit of a darker purple, especially to the edges of things. One of my favorite things to do when coloring is to layer up my colors. It makes things look so much more interesting and fun and vivid when you've got at least two colors layered, especially on like the edges of things or where you want there to be a shadow. So that's one of my tips for you if you're new to coloring, is to layer your colors. All right, now that all of those glass jars and bottles are finished, I'm ready to jump into some of the other details and add in more color. I find it really hard to pare back my color palettes, and I want to just use like all the colors ever, but I really tried to edit myself with this page by paring down to just the main purples and greens and see if I could make it work. And then I'm going to go with some pink in the middle for the one bottle to kind of make it like a focal point, if you will. So I would really love to hear what you guys think about how my color palette turned out. I was not super confident with it, but it was fun to play with this palette and try something completely different for me by paring things down. And it felt like a good color palette to go with the cover or theme of the book as I created it, because you'll see on the cover I did use a ton of purple and some green, and so it felt like it really went with the vibe of the book for this first color along. And then maybe for the next color along I'll go in a different color scheme direction, but it did feel good in that aspect. All right, so here we go with layering in another color inside this purple potion. And this color right here, y'all, is one of my favorite colored pencils that I own. It is a vintage pencil that was handed down to me from a family member. And this color, heliotrope, like it is so vivid. I love it. And I got lucky, and there was actually a second one gifted to me when another family member was done with their art supplies. And like I said, and they're both vintage old pencils. Hi, Promi. Did you hear? Promi's excited about that color too, I guess. This color is like, if you told me I could only keep like 5 colored pencils, that would be one of them. I don't know why you would make me only keep 5. That's really cruel of you, but that would be one of them. Probably my finest moment caught on camera right there. Did you catch the little tantrum I threw by slamming my pencil down? I debated removing this, but you know what? It's so real, and it's a chance to teach you guys how I correct mistakes like this. So I just had such a hard grip on my pencil that it snapped the lead. Like I was pushing down way too hard. So I took my eraser, I gently scrubbed away at where the little dot was. It left kind of like an eraser residue on the paper. So at first I started to use my finger, and then I thought better of it because of the oils in my hand, and so I used a paintbrush with like a really stiff bristle, and I used that to gently brush away the eraser bits, then erased away a little bit more until it lightened it enough that I was okay with it. And then later you're going to see that I come back over the top of it real quick with a white colored pencil, and it like even further hides that little mistake. So mistakes are going to happen. It's okay. Like, yes, I was really frustrated in the moment that happened. Probably more so simply because I was trying to film this for you guys, but like that's life. That stuff happens and it is okay. Like we have to embrace it and let it go and know that like this still looks great. Who cares that there's a tiny little dot right there next to that potion bottle? Overall, it was fun to create. It still looks beautiful. Like it's okay. It's okay that that happened. And I'm actually glad now that I caught that on camera to share with you. So here I go with the one pink potion in this collection, and it actually brought up an interesting question that I have for you guys. If you are someone that colors a lot and you have experience with a lot of different colored pencils, do any of you have some favorite pink colored pencils? Because that is one thing in my colored pencil range that I have not been super happy with, is the pinks that I have. I do not think they're very vibrant, which is why I tend to add like that heliotrope on top of my pinks, just because it feels like it adds a little bit more pop of color. My pinks just seem very like, I don't know, muted or subtle or something. This one that I'm using right now, this slightly darker pink, is like probably the best pink I have. So if anybody has a favorite pink colored pencil, let me know the brand and color name, because I'm on the hunt and I would love to know your recommendation for some really good pinks. Now, here was a decision I was very happy with. Adding in this yellow into the pink, into the kind of highlight parts, made this little bottle, this potion, look like it was glowing from the inside where the flowers were. So this worked out really, really well. And it's something that I actually do fairly often, is to highlights, I will add yellow or pink to them to make them kind of pop. And I think it worked really well in this situation and made that little potion jar feel a little bit more magical. So give that a try. Put some yellow or some pink into a highlight area sometime. See what you think. And at this point, I needed to give my hands a little bit of a break and a stretch. They were feeling super fatigued. I was gripping my pencils so tightly. So took a little break and then we're back at it. You know, now that I think about it, one of the reasons I may have been gripping my pencil so tightly was because of all of the tight, small details, which I didn't really realize how many small areas there were in this coloring page. And that's something that when I'm creating my coloring pages on my iPad, which are still hand drawn, by the way, I'm using a pencil and drawing on my iPad. Sometimes I don't realize how small these details will translate over onto paper, even though I'm drawing them typically at like life size on my screen. Sometimes it just feels larger than it will in the actual book. It was time for a little tea break. Are you coloring along with me? If so, how's yours coming? I needed a little break because apparently today I just have a death grip on my pencils and my hand was like getting so tired. So it was a good chance to stop, make a little cup of tea and take a break. Don't be afraid to take a break from your coloring too, especially if you're doing a really long page or a big page with lots of detail. Take a break, treat yourself, go make something cozy. Okay, this is completely unrelated to coloring, but that mug that I just had, how cute is that witchy cauldron witch's broom mug? I made that, well, I did not make that. I painted that last fall at one of those paint your own pottery type classes. And oh my goodness, those classes are so fun. I've been taking my daughter to them on the weekends whenever we can go, and we really enjoy it. It is like just an easy thing to go and do, to like pick out a piece of ceramic pottery, pick out some glaze colors, you paint it, and then you leave. Like they clean everything up, they fire your piece in the kiln, and then you come back and pick it up. And it's like magic. You get to see how it actually turned out, what colors actually looked like on your piece. Like it's so fun. I highly recommend it. If you can attend one of those kinds of classes sometime, give it a shot. It's easy and fun, and you get a really cool piece of tangible art to bring home with you. So that mug, I'm super proud of it, and it fit the theme of this book and video so well, so I had to use it for my tea break. Did you not think that that mug was like so adorable? So back to coloring. For this potion bottle, I can't wait to see how other people approach this one. When I illustrated this one, in my mind I was kind of imagining when you have a bottle of like salad dressing or something where it doesn't mix unless you shake it up. So you kind of have like two levels of a liquid in there. And so that was my idea when I illustrated this bottle. And so when I was coloring it, I wanted to make two different variations of a purple inside. So I put the more vibrant dark purple on top with more of a lavender on the bottom. And I think it looks pretty cool. But I cannot wait to see if somebody else also tackles this page and how you approach that. Especially if you haven't listened to me say this yet, I'll be curious to see how somebody colors it. It's so interesting to me when I illustrate these coloring pages, and sometimes I have a little bit of an idea of how they could be colored. Sometimes I just don't at all. I see it totally in black and white, and I can't picture how the color could come out or could work. And it's interesting to me to see when somebody colors something in a way that I never would have imagined, which is one of the coolest parts about being a coloring book artist, is this collaboration between you and me. I start the artwork by making some line work, and then you take it in whatever direction you can dream up with your color. And it's so cool when it takes on this life that I never saw for it. So I bet you didn't know that coloring was a team sport, did you? I am starting off the game, and then you are finishing it up by adding in all of your own color, and it's a team effort to make this artwork come full circle, and I think that is so cool. So thank you for being a part of my team when you color in my coloring books or coloring pages. This coloring page is nearly finished. I decided to end it off by coloring these little leafy bits with my favorite purpley color here, and then I'll add in a little bit of a pop of pink and a pop of, are we calling it turquoise? You heard me earlier, right? When I said I don't know how to properly name my colors. I always like to throw in this turquoisey color though, somewhere into my pages when I can, or my artwork. So I did it a little bit on some of the bubbly bits, and they could be stars or they could be bubbles. It's up to you in the background. And then the other thing that I apparently didn't film, but it wasn't a super big deal, is I just put a little bit of a glow behind each of the stars, not the circles, but the kind of star bursts. I did a little bit of a yellow and a peach glow behind each one, which I think gave a little bit more life to those. So that is about it for this coloring page. In just a few minutes, I'm going to show you some nice juicy close-ups of the whole page and how it turned out. And be sure to fully appreciate that it's not perfect. I colored outside the lines in some spots. I don't worry about getting into those super tight details perfectly. I'm just showing up, having fun, doing something that does not require me to be scrolling on my phone, and practicing a little bit of self-care. I hope you were coloring along with me, or that after watching this you will get out your supplies and color too. I plan to do more of these in the future, so like I asked previously, if there is a page in this book or any of my other books that you would ever like to do a color along for with me in a YouTube video, let me know and I will tackle that page, okay? I've had so much fun coloring with you today. I'm so glad you were here. Here's where I'm going to leave off in the voiceovers. I'll talk to you one more time on camera though at the end, so stick around for that. But thanks again for being here. Hey friends, so we are done for today. That was super fun. I hope you were coloring along with me. If you did, I would love to see your page over on social media. Make sure you tag me at the Swimming Owl. I want to see what color palettes you guys tried, because I'm not 100% sure about mine. Let me know what you think. And if there's a page in this book that you would like to see me do next time in a color along, you can let me know that down below too, because I will definitely take your suggestions. So I had so much fun. I hope you did too. Until next time, see you later.